Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I'm Tanvi Taneja and with me is Rupinder Kaur Chawla with the Midday News. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to reply to motion of thanks to President's address in Lok Sabha today. Prime Minister to inaugurate World Sustainable Development Summit 2021 this evening. Rajya Sabha passes the Major Port Authorities Bill 2020, giving greater autonomy to major ports in the country. Election Commission team reaches Chennai on a two-day visit to review poll preparedness in Tamil Nadu. Over 66,11,000 people have been administered COVID-19 vaccines in the country so far. National recovery rate reaches 97.27%. And India and the United States review Indo-Pacific developments and the Quad cooperation. As the nation fights the COVID-19 pandemic, we begin this bulletin with a message of precaution to stay safe and protected by following three simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, and focusing on hand and face hygiene. Now the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is likely to reply to the motion of thanks to the President's address in the Lok Sabha today. After a week-long disruption of Lok Sabha over the farm laws issues and farmers' agitations, the Lok Sabha yesterday resumed discussion on the motion of thanks to the President's address. Participating in the discussion, Minister of State for Agriculture and Farmers' Welfare, Kailash Chaudhary, said the government under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi took the right decision at the right time, resulting in effective containment of COVID-19. He said the government has taken several steps to boost the farming sector in the country. He added that minimum support price MSP of several crops and food grains has been increased by the government, and the farmers have been provided financial assistance under the PM Kisan Samman Nidhi scheme. Earlier, National Conference leader Dr. Farooq Abdullah said the government must ensure speedy vaccination of COVID-19 for all people. He also urged the government to set aside differences and find solutions to the farmers' issues. Akhilesh Yadav of the Samajwadi Party said farmers would not have been protesting at Delhi's borders if they had received the MSP assurance. TMC leader Saugat Roy demanded that the government should repeal the farm laws as farmers are unhappy with the new laws. Rita Bahuguna Joshi of the BJP asserted that the new farm laws will benefit the farmers. BSP leader Kunwar Danish Ali said the government's attitude towards the farmers is not appropriate and the government should avoid confrontation with the farmers. Harsimrat Kaur Badal of the Shiromani Akali Dal said farmers are peacefully protesting for their legitimate demands, but the government is not paying heed to their demands. Referring to the incidents that happened on 26th of January at the Red Fort during the farmers' agitation, BJP member Meenakshi Lekhi said few elements are trying to tarnish the global image of India. Accusing the opposition parties, she said a hybrid war is going on in the country and a panic situation has been created by triggering provocation at various levels. Asaduddin Owaisi of AIMIM raised the issue of Chinese aggression at the country's border, saying that China is increasing its capacity and building infrastructure in the border areas. Aparajita Sarangi of the BJP, Shafiqur Rahman of the Samajwadi Party, Vijay Kumar of JMM, AAP MP Bhagwant Maan, D. Ravi Kumar of VCK and Dr. Amar Singh of the Congress, among others, also participated in the discussion.
Rajya Sabha passed the Major Port Authorities Bill 2020 today. The bill was put to division voting wherein 84 members supported the bill and 44 voted against it. The bill seeks to provide for regulation, operation and planning of major ports in the country and provide greater autonomy to these ports. It seeks to replace the Major Port Trusts Act 1963. The legislation provides for the creation of a board of major port authority for each major port. These boards will replace the existing port trusts. Union Shipping Minister Mansukh Mandavia, while replying after the discussion on the bill, said that it will make the major ports in the country more autonomous and provide major thrust in the maritime sector. He said the bill will help the ports develop world-class infrastructure and will also enhance transparency in their functioning. He stressed that the development of ports will pave way for port-led development as envisaged by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Allaying apprehensions raised by opposition members, Mr. Mandviya informed that the bill does not in any way privatize the ports in the country. He asserted that it empowers the ports by making them more competitive when compared to private ports. The shipping minister stressed that the NDA government will never allow privatization of ports in the country. He said the maritime sector has seen a trajectory of growth in the last 6 years. Mr. Mandviya informed that the major ports in the country have recorded double the profit from its figures in the previous regime. Minister of State for Home Nityanand Rai today informed the Rajya Sabha that there is 60 kilometers area along India-Bangladesh border which cannot be fenced, making it prone to infiltration. Replying to a question in the upper house, Mr. Rai said due to rivers around the area, the fencing is difficult.
बांग्लादेश बॉर्डर पर अंतर्राष्ट्रीय सीमा की कुल लंबाई 2216 है। जो बाढ़ से कवर की गई अंतर्राष्ट्रीय सीमा है वह 1638 है, लगभग 76% है। शेष जो बचा है 578 किलोमीटर, इसमें 10 किलोमीटर कार्य प्रगति पे है। 319 किलोमीटर का बाड़ लगाना संभव नहीं हो पा रहा है क्योंकि वह नदियों का क्षेत्र है और कुछ दुर्गम भौगोलिक परिस्थितियों के कारण वहां हम बाड़ नहीं लगा सकते। फिर भी व्यापक संयुक्त सीमा प्रबंधन प्रणाली के माध्यम से इसमें रेडार है, सेंसिटिव कैमरे हैं और कई प्रकार की व्यवस्था लाकर हम वहां सीमा की सुरक्षा भी करते हैं, घुसपैठियों को रोकते हैं।
Union Labour Minister Santosh Kumar Gangwar has said a package of 27 lakh crore rupees has been given under the Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme to help generate employment in rural sector. In reply to a question in the Rajya Sabha, the minister said there are 40 crore unorganized labour and 10 crore organized labour in the country. Mr. Gangwar informed the House that 1 crore labourers engaged in the unorganized sector went to their home states during COVID-19. He, however, said that many have now returned.
देश के अंदर दूसरे राज्यों से अपने गृह राज्यों में आने का काम करीब 1 करोड़ मजदूरों ने किया है, पर इसमें अधिकांश अब वापस भी लौट गए। आजादी के बाद से लेकर हम केवल ऑर्गेनाइज लेबर थी जिनकी संख्या 10 करोड़ के आसपास थी और असंगठित मजदूर जिनकी संख्या 40 करोड़ के आसपास है। हम प्रधानमंत्री जी को धन्यवाद देंगे, उन्होंने इसको कैसे पॉजिटिवनेस में बदलने का काम किया है कि इन 40 करोड़ की भी हम चिंता कर रहे हैं, इनको कैसे हम पॉजिटिव दिशा में ले जाने का काम करें, सही ढंग से अवसर मिले कि इनको एक स्थायी नौकरी मिल सके।
Civil Aviation Minister Hardeep Singh Puri today said opening up of air routes to above 80% flight operations depend on decisions by air carriers. In reply to a question in the Rajya Sabha, Mr. Puri said to raise the frequency of commercial flights beyond 80% depends also on the behavior of the virus, apart from commercial decisions to be taken by the air carriers.
Our effort is always to open up a little ahead of the actual and potential traffic. Our decision to raise it beyond 80% will depend on the behavior of the virus and our sense of comfort that air travel has all the SOPs and the commercial decisions will have to be taken because this is a deregulated sector by the air carriers.
In Uttarakhand, the rescue and search operation in tunnel where 25 to 30 people were reported stranded is not getting much progress due to heavy slush, although the forces continued their efforts throughout the night. Our correspondent covering the calamity reports that machines were engaged in removing slush from the tunnel the whole night.
A joint team of ITBP, NDRF, SDRF and sister agencies entered into the tunnel this morning, but the tunnel edge is still approachable till about 120 meters. DGP of State Ashok Kumar said that rescue team is finding big boulders in the tunnel. That is why not much progress is there in rescue operation. Till date, 32 bodies have been recovered, out of which 8 are identified and 24 are unknown. Rescue team also recovered 2 Uttarakhand police personnel bodies. Ashok Kumar said that administration is still not in a position to confirm exact number for missing and dead people, but it is somewhere between 192 and 204. With Ragvesh Pandey from Dehradun, this is Sushil Chandra Tiwari for AIR News, Srinagar, Garhwal.
Uttar Pradesh government has sent a team of 3 ministers for coordination with Uttarakhand government in rescue and research operation. The team met with the Uttarakhand Chief Minister, Trivendra Singh Rawat, yesterday. Talking to AIR News, Minister of Sugarcane Development in Uttar Pradesh government, Suresh Rana, said 2 dead bodies of labourers from Uttar Pradesh have been recovered from the debris till date, and the search of the other missing persons hailing from the state is in progress. He said that around 60 persons of Uttar Pradesh are affected in this calamity, and 13 of them survived and reached to their place in the state. He said that a control room in Haridwar is active 24/7 for the persons of UP missing in this natural calamity.
उत्तर प्रदेश सरकार ने पूरा एक अपना कंट्रोल रूम स्थापित किया है हरिद्वार के अंदर, और उस कंट्रोल रूम में हमारे कई अधिकारी लगातार कैंप किए हुए हैं। हमारे सहारनपुर के कमिश्नर, हमारे डीआईजी सहारनपुर ये लगातार नोडल अफसर के रूप में यहाँ देख रहे हैं। हमारे एक एडीएम रैंक के अधिकारी लगातार वहाँ आपदा स्थल पर हैं, और जो भी सहायता की आवश्यकता है वो तमाम सहायता पीड़ितों की कर रहे हैं।
In Odisha, more than 50 lakh metric tons of paddy has already been procured during the ongoing Kharif marketing season. As of yesterday, the state had procured a total of 50,37,257 metric tons of paddy from across the districts. Official sources say that an amount of about 9,000 crore rupees is being transferred to the concerned paddy farmers.
The total paddy procurement from farmers till yesterday represents an increase of about 8 lakh metric tons more than that collected by that time last year. District-wise, while Bargarh district tops the procurement tally with 7,18,000 tons of paddy, Kalahandi comes second with about 5 lakh tons. At the bottom of the list is Kondhamal, a tribal-dominated district from where about 8,000 tons of paddy has been procured so far. Girish Chandra Das, AIR News, Bhubaneswar.
You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to reply to motion of thanks to President's address in Lok Sabha today. Prime Minister to inaugurate World Sustainable Development Summit 2021 this evening. Rajya Sabha passes the Major Port Authorities Bill 2020, giving greater autonomy to major ports in the country. Election Commission team reaches Chennai on a 2-day visit to review poll preparedness in Tamil Nadu. Over 66,11,000 people administered COVID-19 vaccines in the country so far. National recovery rate reaches 97.27%. And India and United States review Indo-Pacific developments and Quad cooperation. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle @AIR News Alerts.
चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो खुद से वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे।
Welcome back. You're listening to the Midday News. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the World Sustainable Development Summit 2021 at 6:30 this evening through video conferencing. The theme of the summit is Redefining Our Common Future, Safe and Secure Environment for All. President of Guyana, Dr. Mohammad Irfan Ali, Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea, James Marape, Speaker of People's Majlis of Maldives, Mohammad Nasheed, Deputy Secretary General, United Nations, Amina J. Mohammed, and Union Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Prakash Javadekar, will take part in the summit. More from our correspondent.
The 20th edition of the Energy and Resources Institute's TERI flagship event, the World Sustainable Development Summit, will be held online till 12th of this month. The summit will bring together a wide number of governments, business leaders, academicians, climate scientists, youth, and the civil society in the fight against climate change. Energy and industry transition, adaptation and resilience, nature-based solutions, climate finance, circular economy, clean oceans, and air pollution are amongst the range of topics which will be discussed during the summit. Ministry of Environment, Forests and Climate Change, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, and Ministry of Earth Sciences are key partners of the summit. Anand Kumar, AIR News, Delhi.
A team of the Election Commission of India reached Chennai this morning on a 2-day visit to review preparedness for the upcoming assembly polls in Tamil Nadu. The team, comprising Chief Election Commissioner Sunil Arora and Election Commissioners Sushil Chandra Rajiv Kumar and Secretary General Umesh Sinha met representatives of political parties. Most of the political representatives have appealed the poll panel for a single-phase election. Speaking to media after meeting the officials, party representatives said that postal ballots should be made available for those people above 80 years of age. Talking to media persons, the Chief Election Commissioner said he will review the situation and brief media tomorrow. Our Chennai correspondent has the details.
Political leaders have expressed concern on conducting the elections in a perfect manner amidst COVID situation. BJP has appealed to the Election Commission to webcast polling at all stations. They have also suggested the polling date after the Tamil New Year's Day, which falls on April 14th. They also wanted deployment of central forces in sensitive booths. Election commissioners will meet police officials and district electoral officials and district superintendents of police also to review the ongoing preparations this afternoon. Tomorrow, there will be a meeting with the Chief Secretary and secretaries of other departments and other senior officials, and after which there will be a press conference on the highlights of the review meetings. Joy, AIR News, Chennai.
A total of over 66,11,000 people have been administered COVID-19 vaccines in the country so far. Union Health Ministry said that more than 3,52,000 people have been inoculated with COVID-19 doses in the last 24 hours. Meanwhile, the country's COVID-19 recovery rate reached 97.27% with a total recovery of more than 13,000 patients in the last 24 hours. The ministry said that more than 1 crore 5 lakh patients have already recovered from this disease. A total number of 11,067 new cases have been reported in the country in the past 24 hours, taking the cumulative positive cases to over 1 crore 8 lakh. The Health Ministry said 94 deaths have been reported during the last 24 hours, taking the toll to over 1,55,000 across the country. Madhya Pradesh is constantly registering decline in COVID-19 cases. COVID-19 tally has risen to over 2,56,000 as the state recorded 167 new cases during the past 24 hours. More from a Bhopal correspondent.
A total of 219 patients were discharged from hospitals yesterday, taking the state's overall recovery count to more than 2,50,000. With 2 patients succumbing to the infection, the death toll increased to 3,825. COVID positivity rate stands at 1.0%. 14 districts recorded no new infections. Bhopal now has 632 active cases, while active cases in Indore stands at 301. State Immunization Officer Dr. Santosh Shukla informed that vaccination of frontline workers is being conducted smoothly. There is no report of any adverse effect after vaccination from anywhere in the state. Pooja P. Vardhan, AIR News, Bhopal.
In Uttar Pradesh, schools from classes 6th to 8th reopened today after a gap of almost 10 months since the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic. The state government has asked school authorities to strictly adhere to all COVID-related protocols. More from our Gorakhpur correspondent.
A detailed SOP has been issued by the state government. Wearing mask is mandatory for all students and teachers. Social distancing needs to be maintained in the seating arrangement in classes. Proper sanitization is to be carried out at regular intervals. Only half of the students are allowed to attend school in a day. No group activities such as morning assemblies and games classes are to be conducted. All due care must be taken while serving midday meals. It is mandatory for schools to get a written consent from parents to send their children to attend classes. If a student is not willing to come to school, he or she has the option of attending classes online. Also, schools from class 1st to 5th will commence from March 1 next month. Aditya Shukla, AIR News, Gorakhpur.
Haryana Board of School Education will conduct the annual examinations for the secondary and senior secondary classes from 20th of April. Giving the information, an official spokesperson said the proposal on conducting the exams sent by Haryana School Education Board in Bhiwani to the Directorate of School Education has been approved. The examinations will conclude on 31st of May and the results will be announced in the first week of July.
The annual examinations for classes 10th and 12th will commence from 1st of April in Jammu region. As per the notification issued by Joint Secretary of Jammu and Kashmir Board of School Education, JKBOSE, the exams for class 10th will begin from 3rd of April and culminate on 24th of April, while those for class 12th will start from 1st of April and end on 29th of April. The examination will be conducted as per standard operating procedure and COVID-19 guidelines. Delhi government has announced the admission schedule for entry-level classes, nursery, KG and Class 1 for open seats in private unaided recognized schools in the national capital for academic session 2021-22. As per the schedule, the commencement of admission process and availability of forms will begin from 18th of this month. The last date for submission of admission forms is 4th of March. The schools will upload the first list of selected candidates on their websites on March the 20th. The second list of the selected children will be released on 25th of March and subsequent list, if required, will be announced on 27th of March. The admission process will conclude on March 31st.
In our series on Union Budget 2021-22, today we bring you key announcements made in the railway sector this year. The government has proposed a record allocation of 1,10,000 crore rupees for the Indian Railways in the Union Budget 2021-22. The gross budgetary allocation is more than 37,000 crore rupees, which is 53% higher than the current year budget estimate. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announced that Western Dedicated Freight Corridor and Eastern Dedicated Freight Corridor are expected to be commissioned by June 2022.
Indian Railways have prepared a National Rail Plan for India 2030. The plan is to create a future-ready railway system by 2030. Bringing down the logistic costs for an industry is at the core of our strategy to enable Make in India. It is expected that Western Dedicated Freight Corridor and Eastern Dedicated Freight Corridor will be commissioned by June 2022. Detailed project reports will be undertaken in the first phase.
The Finance Minister announced that 100% electrification of broad gauge routes will be completed by December 2023. Our correspondent has filed this report.
The thrust of Annual Plan 2021-2022 is on infrastructure development, throughput enhancement, development of terminal facilities, augmentation of speed of trains, signalling systems, improvement of passenger amenities and safety works of road over bridges. National projects of Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand and Northeastern region have been allocated highest ever outlay of 12,985 crore rupees for the next financial year. This is 72% more in comparison to current financial year. The budget has also proposed introduction of the aesthetically designed Vista Dome LHB coach on tourist routes to give a better travel experience to passengers. This system minimized the possibility of train collision due to human error. With Dipendra Kumar, Suparna Saikia, AIR News, Delhi.
External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar and U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken held a comprehensive discussion yesterday and reviewed Indo-Pacific developments and the Quad cooperation. In a tweet, Mr. Jaishankar said they also exchanged views on the situation in Myanmar. The External Affairs Minister said he looks forward to remain in touch with him. The telephonic conversation between Mr. Jaishankar and Mr. Blinken came a day after Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a telephonic conversation with US President Joe Biden. During the conversation, both the leaders discussed regional issues and their shared priorities. Former U.S. President Donald Trump's second impeachment trial has formally commenced in the Senate. The Senate voted 56-44 to proceed to the first ever trial of a former president, rejecting his defense lawyer's argument that Trump was beyond the reach of the Senate after having left the White House on January 20th. More on this in our desk report.
The article of impeachment in the House of Representatives last month alleged that Mr. Trump made false allegations of election fraud and encouraged the rioting at the Capitol Hill by his supporters. The House voted to pass the article of impeachment. Now a trial is being held in the Senate. The upper chamber of Congress will now decide whether to convict or clear Mr. Trump of the charge. Since the Constitution of America is silent on course of action on impeachment of ex-president, this has become a point of legal debate. Democrats are hoping to disqualify Trump from holding public office ever again, and last night's outcome suggested they face odds. Tripti Srivastava, News Desk.
The office of the National League for Democracy (NLD), headed by ousted State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi, was raided by the military authorities last night. The military and police authorities broke into the headquarters of NLD in Yangon and a nearby regional office. The raid follows widespread demonstrations against the military government in Myanmar, demanding the military to step down and release the political leaders detained after the military takeover on 1st of February. Meanwhile, the United Nations has expressed strong concern over the use of force against the demonstrators in Myanmar. New Zealand announced that it is suspending all high-level political and military contact with Myanmar. The U.S. State Department announced that it was reviewing assistance to ensure those responsible for the coup face significant consequences. The 25th edition of the International Film Festival of Kerala, IFFK, is set to kick-start this evening. More from a Thiruvananthapuram correspondent.
Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan will inaugurate the film festival today evening at 6 at Nishakandi Auditorium in Thiruvananthapuram. Around 80 feature films from over 30 countries will be screened in the festival this year. Bosnian film Quo Vadis Aida will be the inaugural film of the festival. On account of the pandemic, the festival is being held in 3 phases and different venues adhering to strict COVID protocol. While prominent guests from across the globe will be joining the festival online, the duration of each phase is reduced to 5 days at each venue, with the first one ending on February 14th in Thiruvananthapuram. The festival will be held from February 17 to 21 in Ernakulam, from February 23rd to 27th at Talasheri, and from March 1st to 5th at Palakkad. Mayusha for AR News from Thiruvananthapuram.
Now news from Australian Open. 8-time winner and defending champion Novak Djokovic today defeated America's Francis Tiafoe in the second round. In the other second round matches of men's singles event, US Open champion Dominic Thiem defeated Dominic Kofa, while Denis Shapovalov beat Australian qualifier Bernard Tomic. Serena Williams continues her quest for a record 24th Grand Slam singles title as she defeated Nina Stojanovic of Serbia in the second round today. Bianca Andreescu, who beat Williams in the 2019 US Open final, but was then sidelined for 15 months due to injury, lost to Xia Su Wei. Rafael Nadal's chase for a record-breaking 21st Grand Slam title is off to a good start. The world number 2 defeated Serbian Laslo Djere to reach the second round. Meanwhile, India endured a second successive disappointing result after Rohan Bopanna and his Japanese partner Ben McClellan bowed out in the men's singles today. Now, David Sharan in the men's doubles and debutante Ankita Raina in women's doubles are left in the fray from India. Sharan with his Slovak partner I. Zelene will take on the pair of K. Krowitz and Hafman in the men's doubles, while Ankita with her Romanian partner M. Buzarnescu will take on B. Woolcock and O. Gondeski tomorrow. Now, weather update for today. In the national capital Delhi, sky would be mainly clear. Minimum temperature was 10 degrees Celsius and the maximum will be around 27. Mumbai has a mainly clear sky. Minimum temperature was 18 degrees Celsius and the maximum will be around 36. Chennai too has a mainly clear sky. Minimum temperature was 20 degrees Celsius and maximum will be around 30. Kolkata has a mainly clear sky. Minimum temperature was 14 degrees Celsius while the maximum will be around 27. Srinagar has a mainly clear sky. Minimum temperature was -3 degrees Celsius and maximum will be around 12 degrees. In Jammu, minimum temperature was 11 while maximum will be around 23. The city will have mainly clear sky. There is an overcast sky in Leh. Minimum temperature was -5 degrees Celsius while the maximum will be around 7. Gilgit will have generally cloudy sky and Muzaffarabad will have partly clear sky. A 116-year-old French nun who is believed to be the world's second oldest person has survived COVID-19 and is looking forward to celebrating her 117th birthday tomorrow. French media reports that Sister André tested positive for the virus in mid-January in Toulon, but just 3 weeks later, the nun recovered. Sister André, who is blind and uses a wheelchair, did not even worry when she received her diagnosis. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to reply to the motion of thanks to President's address in the Lok Sabha today. Prime Minister to inaugurate World Sustainable Development Summit 2021 this evening. Rajya Sabha passes the Major Port Authorities Bill 2020, giving greater autonomy to major ports in the country. Election Commission team reaches Chennai on a 2-day visit to review poll preparedness in Tamil Nadu. Over 66,11,000 people administered COVID-19 vaccines in the country so far. National recovery rate reaches 97.27%, and India and the US review Indo-Pacific developments and Quad cooperation. And with that, we end the Midday News.